Hello, my name is James McLachlan, Editor-in-Chief of Car Design News, and welcome to this live stream. I said that twice because we're not a pre-record, we are live in the studio with our guests. We are going to be talking about CMF trends today, expectations, analysis, colour trends that have caught our eye, material innovation, of course, and how the role of the CMF designer is changing, or has it already changed? We've got a great couple of guests to my right in the studio. We've got Stephen Stanforth, who's CMF and Interiors Chief at LEVC, and David Hopwood, CMF Chief at Mahindra. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to pick your brains now. Well, I'm going to ask you to use your crystal balls, as it were. And we've had recent surveys on CMF has suggested that the neutrals and earthy tones are going to be trending this year. What else are you seeing at the moment? Have you got a forecast for 2026? I'm going to start with you, Stephen, because I'm staring at you. But yeah,
right over to me.
Yes.
Love that. I think from our point of view, yes, neutrals are 100% still there, but they're almost becoming a bit more mature. Before it was kind of Scandi chic, you know, you couldn't do wrong with a nice ecru and a beige, but it's how far can you push that now, you know? So we're looking more towards, you know, the bronzes and getting slight metallic within there as well, just to add a bit more depth to it. And that's really what we're looking at when we're talking about neutrals. But they've got to be a good base, and we're starting to see as well, like super duper vibrant neon accent colors starting to come back as well.
Interesting.
You know, especially when it comes to like interaction.
Yeah.
You know, CMF is not just about materials anymore. We're UI UX, you know, and we've got to make sure that we're creating color palettes that work also within the digital world. You know?
That's very interesting. I mean, this metallic idea, I mean, this is kind of almost a slightly baroque feeling, a bit more depth as well. But how on earth is that going to work with neon kind of HMI guided stuff? I mean, it could be a cornucopia of sensory overload.
No, for sure. I mean, you've seen it actually within some of the concepts over the past year or so. I mean, one of the Vineyard concepts had very nice neutral palette, but with a very vibrant orange light coming through there, using lighting as the color. And you know, we saw with the UI UX on the new Ferrari.
We will get to the Ferrari.
Johnny and Magnus, and you know, with the difference there is that they're starting to use that very neon electric feel, but for an interaction purpose, which is kind of getting us back to where we were back in the day. You know,
we may have come full circle, just in a slightly different route. David, what about you? Similar vibes, or
similar vibes as Steve said? It's more that those neutrals are very nature inspired. There's that safe feeling, isn't there? It keeps people happy, but that more chromatic punch allows us as designers as well to sort of almost give a different nuance, a sort of something different in there, a pack walk, and that allows it for maybe an orange accent, or is it a premium luxury feel? I think that's exactly where we are. I think those naturals are going to just stay with us, and it's how we play with them.
Yeah,
I think that's the key thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
The space with it. You mentioned chromatic punch. You did well to not chromatically punch Stephen there for mentoring Tata's Vineyard brand. Being a Mahindra man, of course, there's no love lost there. Well, of course, there's a friendly rivalry, I'm sure. But what about things like satins? You mentioned metallic finishes. Satins are going to play a role, or
satins for me are quite a personal thing. I think I think especially with an exterior, you either love or hate. I think it's a bit Marmite, definitely, but allows us as a designer to play a very subtle difference. So you can play that tune. You can create a difference very subtly, rather than have that big bold punch of colour. So I think satins are great. They're much easier to do than they were 10, 15 years ago, so 100%. They are relevant now.
Right.
But it's how do we do it?
I was going to say a lot of it must lie in the execution.
100%. And I think we're starting to see where we would traditionally just see a material that is of a satin finish or has a satin film put over it, etc., paint finish. We're actually starting to see texture actually becoming the root of generating that, you know, whether that's more of a natural texture like bead blasting, for instance, or if we're going for like the micro texturing that we're starting to see within lenses and lamps. as well. All of these things can give difference and depth to the design of both interior and exterior components.
But a process driven end result almost.
Absolutely.
The method becomes the aesthetic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nobody wants their interiors or their exteriors to just look like one lump.
Mm.
That's like when we're clay modeling. It's one gigantic color, and you can see all the architecture. That's great. But actually, when it comes from a CMF point of view, we want that difference. We want the person to really interact with it. And we've all been in the vehicles with lots of gloss black in there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of gone full circle where it was piano black, proper wood finish, on the old Bentleys and Rolls Royces and Jags and things, and then it turned into pretty rubbish plastic. And now we're starting to see how can we push that forward even more.
There's a bit of a change, isn't there? It's about enhancing customer experience,
right?
And I think the crazy world of the 6 years that we've all been through, I think that everyone has this sort of, or most people have this safe space in their home. So can we then bring that further into a vehicle? And if that's with a softer, more calm, safe space, surely that it's an emotional thing rather than anything else.
And emotional sort of durability and like you say, that calming idea. It does feel like a bit of a crazy old world out there at the moment. Mm-hmm. Anything you can do to alleviate that level of stress. I mean, materials and finish are perfectly placed to do this. Alongside it, as we said, great. HMI. One question I'm curious about, and this, I should say, we have an incredible amount of questions submitted by you, the viewers. So thank you so much for that. I've got so many. We're gonna delve into them much earlier than planned because they're great questions, much better than anything I came up with, if I'm quite honest. But one of the ones that struck me was about these ideas of material, color selections of the year. How much attention do you actually pay for it, or can you just sort of plow your own furrow, led by your brand, perhaps? I don't know.
I mean, I think it's almost like before, when we were designing vehicles, especially from a CMF point of view, the trends was really important because we were designing for different markets. But we're now in a global market, right? Especially if I think from a Geely point of view, our vehicles are becoming more global. We're going into more spaces. With that means that we need to be looking at the trend analysis tools globally and making sure that the product can work globally as well, not just for North America, South America, Europe, China, wherever. It used to be that we trim level the heck out of it.
Yes.
So that they could go to all these different destinations or even cost them down, in certain ways. But actually now we're starting to see kind of a level playing field globally. And that's why it's really interesting to utilize the trend analysis tools. And we were saying just now, you kind of get it from osmosis, even if you're not taking it in. You've got to make sure it's working with your brand direction,
yes, course,
and what the vehicle is and all of that jazz. But 100%, yeah, we still need to use it.
What about you, David? Ignore them completely, or no?
No, no. I think it's probably. I think as a CMF designer now, you need such a almost extensive toolkit and a skill set bag. And trends and forecasting is one of them. It's incredibly difficult, like you said there. You've got to factor in brand positioning, marketing, and the storytelling of what we're trying to do. So Mahindra, like you said, Geely, we're becoming this global presence. So you have to be relevant in all markets. So therefore, you need to be thinking a much bigger picture.
I mean, there's crazy scales that you guys are dealing with, actually.
But
to sort of come back to it, such an important part of what we do. But then it's how we take that information and how we put it into our relevant vehicles to do the job that it needs to do.
I mean, it can't be copy and paste. You have to synthesize it through the prism of what your brand stands for. I should actually say to the audience, there were 3 speakers actually listed on the discussion today. One of them, as you can see, is not with us. That's Marilia Bill, who's just been promoted to head of design at Kia, head of CMF design at Kia. We did do a pre-recorded interview with Marilia, and we're just going to run a couple of clips throughout the show. We can tee up clip 1 because Marilia talks a little bit about how automotive are experimenting with brighter colours, and CMF teams need to offer a bit more than people are expecting already. Riffing on what the guys have just said there, if we could roll the first clip of Marilia, that would be great. Thank you. Oh, headphones on, guys. Otherwise you won't hear it.
Has been to those periods as other industries had, if you imagine. And home appliances in the past, all beige, all gray, and now they are so fun. They have many different finishes and colors. We have been to a phase where the car industry was so neutral, so white, as you said lately. And finally, I think it's somehow a mindset that grows as a combination of what we as professionals can do to offer more than what people are expecting, to say, hey, I know you like the white, but what about this new amazing blue, you know? And when people see it, they embrace. But also, it's a kind of realization that the car can offer more for you, that the car can be your extension, can be fun, can be delightful. At least for us at Kia, we have been trying to really offer more choices, to offer this chance of really enjoying it, you know, not simply thinking, when I sell this car, it's easier if it's silver, but it's your own car. You pay so much for it. Why not expressing your personality or whatever you want to express with that color? So I think it's in a certain way, a loop that's happening in our industry. And I'm very glad that finally is at this stage where we can play a bit more.
Okay, that was really. I think the key words that came out there were delight and fun. Now, this is interesting from both your perspectives. I mean, we know how important colour is in the mothership, I suppose, the home base of Mahindra. But what about you, Stephen? You're designing all things to all people, like the taxis that are going to shift people around.
Yeah.
How much space is there for delight?
Well, I think there has to be. You know, as automotive designers, we're always taught to do surprise and delight. You know, it's one of the key things we're always looking at. But how much of that do you actually manage to do? And it's always very difficult. And sure, we're looking at ways that we can do that. I can't go quite into that just now. We're doing some interesting stuff, and my team back at base are working on some very cool stuff.
Oh, cool.
Things.
Just give us a
no,
sneak. No, you sure?
I can't. They've got me on the power wall. You know,
oh,
we're in the big mothership in the studio, and I'll be fired before I walk out of here. But there is some great things coming for sure, and it is getting that. You know, the London taxi works for everybody: royalty, students, people having a kebab.
There's an everyman appeal, every man, every woman appeals.
And it's also got from a CMF point of view as well. It's like we were talking about trains earlier on. Everybody's using it, but they're using it like a lot. You know, with suitcases and Brompton bikes being thrown in there, and kids and wheelchairs.
There's a functionality to what you're doing.
There really is.
They overlap, don't they?
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
throw bikes in there. It's got to be robust enough to stand that.
Exactly. So from a CMF point of view, it's really interesting from our side, because actually, if you think 25 years ago, CMF departments were part of engineering, right? We were material engineers. We were getting all those attributes and really doing that. And you can kind of see that from some of the interiors and stuff from back then. But nowadays, we've kind of gone into this lovely aesthetic-led, you know, design first type thing. But some of it's like we're not actually doing very good finishes and things, you know, and some of the materials aren't actually lasting. You know, we're thinking this is leasing culture. You know,
actually.
So no one's really buying it for the longevity. They're just going to chuck it in the bin. But actually, with a product like Taxi, it needs to last, and it has to last.
Actually, it's slightly counterintuitive, actually. Yeah, when you think about it. For you, David, I mean, we understand from the outside looking in that India is a very colourful, joyful country in so many ways. They're obviously a key part of your brand. I mean, reactions, I suppose, to Amelia's point about fun, surprise, delight. I mean, this must be your bread and butter, I would say.
Yeah, I like. She mentioned about bringing people's personality into the car.
Yeah,
and I think that is something that we should all be trying to do, really, because I think people. She said, you spend a lot of money on these vehicles, so why should it be the same as everybody else? You should be able
the
to
Scandi monochrome as we've had for a long time.
Yeah.
So India is a fascinating place.
Yeah,
and it's culturally, to go there and embrace it and understand it has been a phenomenal near 4 years of my time to understand that marketplace, and now that global presence. We've got to take that and retain who we are, that sort of brand, who we are, but then make it a global brand.
I mean, that to me is the big question, because we see this about, you know, massive companies, OEMs, umbrella brands like Geely, you know, Mahindra, Tata. They're operating at crazy scales, but they are, you know, they all come from somewhere. That how you then transfer that kind of identity and make it palatable in a global market. I mean, to me, I mean, no pressure, guys, but the CMF does seem to be the key to that. You know,
Yeah, we've been saying it for years, to be fair.
Yeah.
But now it's coming.
But no one's listening.
Yeah, no one's listening. Exactly. I mean, I think it's super important that we are, you know, we're right there at the start of every project, even before it's kind of been kicked off, to make sure that we're getting the emphasis on the character through. I think when there's so many different brands now, I mean, there's over 100 brands in China right now. You know, and 10 years ago there really wasn't. You know, there was like 6. So that scale of change means you do get a lot of repetition, actually, because there's a lot of benchmarking. Everybody does benchmarking, and you know, we know there's sales and marketing led organizations that will just do things for sales.
Oh God, yeah.
But that does leave you with kind of an anti-fun sort of market, right? And especially when we're trying to get as many people to like experience the car and feel that character and be one with the vehicle, that's really difficult when it's so bland.
Yeah, the race to homogeneity is never a race anyone wants to win.
Because cars are really good now, you know, they're all built by robots. You know, there's none of this like British Leyland type thing going on, you know, where it might rust to pieces in 2 years. They're all generally pretty decent vehicles. So we're the difference between that.
Exactly, and to sort of harp on what you just said there a little bit. So we are at the very start. I remember it's only sort of 10, 15 years ago where it was almost at the end.
Yeah, for sure.
But now we're at the start where that first sketch happens. We're creating a vision. We're creating the start of a story, and then we're telling that story. But we're then seeing it right the way through. And when you get to this vision that gets signed off by the powers that be, that's when the real work starts, because then you've got to realize it, and then that's when the technical expertise comes in. You have to deliver it to budget, to robustness. You've got to pass all those testing things.
Quality,
You've got to retain that vision right the way through to the end. So we see right the way through to cars on the road, and do you know what? And beyond. In my experience of where we are now in Mahindra, we have to keep going.
Right.
Make sure it's relevant and keep working hard at that design.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, you couldn't have teed it up better. And honestly, they haven't seen the questions before. But someone has written about how can CMF be better integrated in the workflow. Obviously, they're not working in a similar sort of place as you, but this is demonstrating the value, I suppose, to what we would call stakeholders within the chain.
I think you know, we're a very small design team here in the UK. We're GC3, Geely Creative Centre in Coventry, and because we are quite small, it means that we can't silo ourselves. You know, we can't be in those silos that you see in the big behemoths. And actually, that's really good. You know, both myself and Dave have worked for big behemoths, and we see what the silo can do. And all it does is kill communication completely. So I've always said to my team that we 100% have to communicate with everybody else, and we work alongside them. And there is that input. There is, you know, my principal, he talks to the rest of the principals within the business as well. You know, all of this just means that through every level, it doesn't just take a first line meeting to get clarity. It's every single level of that organization that understands what we're trying to do. And if we can help, you know, if there's a big presentation and they need some support from CMF in a certain direction, why can't we support that? You know, if it's not part of our normal remit.
Is it you pushing for this though, or is this more the people coming to you, designer, director level, head of interior level? How is that conversation playing out, basically?
Yeah.
Same question for you, actually, though, as well.
Yeah, I think it's it has to be on the forefront of everybody within the studio to have open communication. There's like no ego. There can't be any ego anymore. It used to be, you know, back in the day, it was all about ego and who had the loudest voice. But actually, to get the best product out is what we really want to do. We're getting back to basics, right?
Yeah. Collaborative.
Yeah, 100%.
That I think. From our sort of small studio, which is, to be fair, in these few years grown massively, really. We've retained that family vibe, that sort of collaborative nature where I see probably more than I've seen anywhere else, and that's other industries as well, where you have different design disciplines that work hard together because we're achieving one goal. We to get the best product, whether it's at a review stage, whether it's in a production stage. I think that happens, and from our side as well, we have engineers 5,000 miles away in India that we have to collaborate with as well. So we've got this big pool of people that we spend all day, every day, in Teams calls. But it's
how do you get any work done?
Exactly. That's why we have.
Literally right.
I'm incredibly lucky. I feel like I've got an incredible CMF design team that are super focused, super positive, and super creative, and that allows me to almost look at the strategy and almost firefight the day-to-day.
Right, I see what you mean. Yeah, just give them. I think one of the key things that I hear from designers of all stripes is how they give their team space, space and time, which is obviously the two things you don't have. And I think it's key. Being creative needs time.
Do you know, I left the studio last night and just had a quick chat with a couple of the team and looking over their shoulder, saying, "Oh, I'm not in tomorrow. I'm in London," and just seeing the stuff that they're working on. And I'm super excited tomorrow to go in to talk about it in depth. And that is the best place I see as to be a manager, leader, whatever you want to call it,
100%.
to have that team working on their own individually and together. It's phenomenal to see.
Just got to get that fizz from the team's work, right? 100%.
I guess your teams are watching. I mean, you're saying this because they're watching, right?
I hope they're working today.
Get back to work, God damn it. One thing that often comes up, and I think it pertains to projects we've seen recently in launch, but this is this kind of marriage. CMF and HMI, and the rise of digital is a terrible word, a portmanteau of two words. but we know what we mean by it, right? Yeah. But this kind of idea, like bridging the gap between tactile physical materials and digital display aesthetics, and not having those two layers, feeling like there is one layer and they're all integrated together. I mean, this is obviously a very pressing question that you guys are having to deal with. How do you do it?
Ninja are very tech-led as a brand, and I think we've all seen the introduction of these screens, and we see it in day-to-day life. We've all got children that sit with phones, and we do it as well.
Yeah,
you wake up and look at a screen, you go to work, you look at a screen, and you're in your car looking at a screen. It's crazy. So I think there's an element now with getting back to a little bit more analog. I think there's a functional area of, okay, I want to be able to do this better and easier without looking through a screen.
Yeah.
So I think there is a change happening there. I think tech should integrate more than dominate.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something that we can help with the softness of a material alongside it, create that warm space within a vehicle.
I think with the new levels of materials that are coming out that can have tech within
embedded in them,
I think that's absolutely the route forward. And once the price point of that actually comes and becomes a reality, then it's just like a snowball, like everything, like screens were even. Like before they were so expensive, but now you can throw 7,000 screens in the car. It's fine. But there is definitely. We've gone through this kind of watershed where there's so many screens in a vehicle now that realistically, why?
Well, yeah.
What's the purpose of it, and is it doing a good thing, or is it just killing the interior completely? Right? And with all these slabs everywhere, it looks like a graveyard.
No, it's true. There is the argument. I always guess, and I may be wrong on this, but when I see screens that look like they've just been attached like a fridge magnet to the IP. I do wonder, have they done that so you can take it out at some point and put a new one in? I guess so, but they always look so much better if they're integrated into the form.
Yeah, for sure.
But then of course you are painted into a corner there. That will be obsolete in 5 or 6 years' time. You're with a dead space.
Well, I do think with the speed of vehicle programs now, working on 24-month programs, full vehicle, then you haven't really got to worry about that. No. Like the speed that both Indian and Chinese brands are running at the moment is incredible. It's almost catching up to what technology is, like what iPhones and stuff like this are doing. So it's important, but I think it's also important to understand legislation's changing. There's legislation coming out in China where buttons need to come back. They're bringing buttons back. We're seeing it coming back. So hopefully we haven't lost the detailed design that was always there when we needed buttons. Hopefully that's a skill set that still exists, because everybody's so used to just putting an icon on a screen now, and boom, there you go. You got your sunroof switch.
David, without giving your age away, you were hell from a man of buttons, analog design. Those skills I hope haven't gone away. As Stephen said, they're still there at some point. Maybe they're dormant or been sidelined somewhat, but they are going to be, as Stephen said, they are going to become important again in the future.
I think it's important as designers, as business people, whoever you are, to listen as well, isn't it? So I think I've driven an EV car now for 2 years. I wanted to understand what it was all about. But so you do find that sort of yeah, I want to find something. So it's important. And we talked earlier over a coffee sort of thing about the whole the yacht design day sort of thing. That was
Yes, yeah,
button
just
on
for
top
the,
of
for the
button on
viewers,
top
you
of
know,
button. It was
David
just
used to
crazy,
design
yeah.
yachts in the back in the day, which is kind
Yeah.
of really interesting, sort of how it's informed, you know, what you do now.
Exactly, yeah. So we took that, then we looked at automotive. Now I'm looking at marine and architecture, all these different sort of inspiration. But yeah, these the ability to be able to just press a button has got to be there quickly, just for maybe your sort of heated screen or something. I think we need to get a little bit.
But to me, it's a tremendous opportunity as well, because this is the tactile element of the car. If you've got a real opportunity to create something quite special there, but depending on material, and it might be a way you may have to have a lower budget, but you can, you know, use sort of form to help you with convey a kind of a message. To me, this is opening back up the sort of creative playing field again.
Yeah, it's a tactility, isn't it, to touching something,
Yeah.
switching something.
And it just gives us more opportunity from a CMF standpoint as well, to have those small little icons everywhere, jewelry around the interior. You know, you've got to think of like watch design.
Yeah.
Not all of them are little Apple watches now with screens on them. You know, the best ones still have buttons for a reason, right? People like it.
Yeah. I suppose the sea change was, in terms of user experience, was the iPhone when it first came out. That was the one that shifted everything. I mean, the idea of not having a button to press a function, it was crazy. But before that arrived, but it just became the thing. I suppose it then became a bit of a, as the cost came down, a bit of a shorthand, a bit of an easy fix to sort of, without pushing, you know, too hard. You could have a ready-made solution that was off the peg that you. But of course, this is not the emotional durability we talk about. This is not the kind of personalization we're talking about. This is obviously the opposite, really. Do we get to a point where, I'm not saying screens are going to disappear, but maybe they become much more sort of secondary in some ways, and we will have heads-up displays that will do more than enough information. Then maybe we are in a bit more of a kind of balanced arena, I guess. I don't know, but you guys are the experts.
I think from my point of view, the placement of screens is super important. And when I was in China last year, I got to sit in one of the new Xiaomi's over there with the kind of BMW style heads-up display, full width, you know, in the blackout. Lovely thing. And actually works incredibly well, because your eyes are on the road constantly. It has lots of different features within there. You don't actually need to touch it. So it's pretty good, but they've also got different aspects as well. So they're looking at it ever so slightly, you know, differently with the center screen. They can have add-ons on there, and they're selling like hotcakes.
Right.
So again, it comes back to character, doesn't it? You know, chucking a slab screen in there kills the character of the vehicle somewhat. You think of some of the 90s cars where they all had to be sculpted, you know, beautifully. You know, Alfa Romeos and things like this. You know, really get into true car design. And from a CMF point of view, all the different finishes you can have with that. You start clogging up the interior with a massive 17.2-inch screen. You're losing a lot of real estate.
David, you're a tech brand, you're a tech-led brand. I mean, this question is a very pertinent one for you, I guess. How you continue to move forward and not have this kind of tech has been sort of dictated to by something beyond your field of expertise, I guess.
It's like you say, it's how you use it and how you enhance that customer experience again. Functionality, aesthetic, all of these things, they have to be sort of paired together. And I think that's the clever part of it. So you can put all the tech in the world together, but you've got to do it in a way that it doesn't feel overwhelming, and it's sort of in its right place, and then all of a sudden you've got the sweet spot of how you do it, and that's the tricky part. That is the tricky part.
Do you think, just moving on slightly to materials, another great question from the audience about how the acceptance of organic materials, organic fibers. The questioner said, I feel a great deal of resistance towards this during the automotive industry. Now, I don't know where that resistance is coming from, but is that something you can sympathise with, that view, or is this not your experience?
I don't know. I think going back to an earlier point, there's a budget assigned to everything. So
yes, of course.
The sustainability is not something that's so much talked about now. It's a given. So we're all there with that
Yep.
now. I think at the very, very early stages of design, when we're sketch, sort of, I think early sketch, we're thinking of that. But we have to be sort of aware and relevant of what we're going to do. So I think, me personally, we've got a material engineering team in India that is second to none. They work tirelessly, and they are years ahead of where we are. Because as designers, we come up with some creative, crazy ideas, and we're like, how do we deliver it? They're doing the same to us, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So
do they ever roll their eyes on the call? And, oh God, what have you done now?
And you know what? They come back with stuff to us, and we probably roll our eyes.
Right.
But that's a great balance to be. So I don't see that where we are, that there's a negative, but it's how we can implement it. I think there's a time and a place of how we can get it in, because we have to meet timing, we have to pass all the regulations, all the testing. It's when can we do it, and when can we deliver it successfully.
Right.
I think so. It's there. It's just when can it become common.
And it's making sure that it can keep up with the rates of automotive production, right? You see these things about ocean waste. Well, have they actually got enough ocean waste collected and recycled to generate the end product?
Yeah.
Answer usually is no. So they're starting to use virgin polymer in there as a replacement. You're completely killing your narrative. You know, and we're narrative-based people. We want the good story, but it has gone from a point of greenwashing and utilizing that as a sales marketing thing to just being a given now, because that's our social responsibility, right?
I mean, that's the greenwash aspect is always you can always be, unless you are squeaky clean and every part of the supply chain is kind of rigorously looked at. But I think this is kind of, the ocean plastic has been such a great story. So there is so much of it out there, and that great big island of it in the Pacific somewhere. But like you say, it's destroyed completely. You have to be able to stand to it by your narrative. And if it is, you have got polymers infused into it, you have sort of cut the legs off your own kind of story.
I think one of the really cool things that happened at LEVC actually when I first started was the L380, the SUV over in China.
Spaceshipy sort of,
exactly.
Yeah, MPV.
So that was just going through its mastering when I started at the company. I got the box of masters back from our CMF engineering team. We have quite a big CMF engineering team over in China, and actually the majority of samples were recycled based. You know, they had percentages in there. Did they make a song and dance about it? Absolutely not. It was just a given, right? It was a great luxury vehicle at a decent cost with all this eco stuff, but we don't need to talk about that actually, because we've got all this great stuff to talk about instead.
I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, it's sort of, you know, it's been a success if it's no longer a kind of selling point or a talking point. It just is, baked in.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be baked in.
How much appetite is the sustainability story for a brand like Mahindra, Dave, or is it not there?
No, massive. No. Yeah. I think again, you can't not have that almost nucleus at the start of that. I think it's important. We've got to find the right balance for it. I know when I started my first day, you start thinking, right, recycled, then you change that word slightly to recyclable, and then you start understanding that circularity and where we can go with it. And it's a technical thing now that you need to collaborate again. I say that word again to make sure that we can. But yeah, it's huge. It's I think everybody, especially if you look at the age of people buying cars now, it's relevant. If you don't do it, I think people probably don't buy a car at this stage for that purpose.
No.
But that will change at some point. Yeah. I think people will. So you don't want to be behind the trend when that happens. You've got to be on it.
No, you've got to have your ducks lined up.
That's what I say.
In a sea of vehicles that are all really good, right? In every single segment, you've got to have something to stand out.
Yeah, there are very few bad cars. I mean, David and I were chatting earlier because we worked with Roy Axe, who some of the older viewers may remember. But, our first cars were Austin Metros. I mean, they were terrible.
Wow,
I loved it.
But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I mean, to me, it was, and to you as well, I'm sure, it's freedom. You know, this was the promise of the driving license.
Mine was brown as well, by the way. That's probably why I came into this.
Mine was sort of, it was kind of muddy, reddy. I mean, I'm not sure what colour it was supposed to be. For a CMF discussion, it's probably. I do. You did mention circular, David. So I another audience question for both of you again, and this is, what is the biggest hurdle moving away from the so-called glued multi-material composites and moving towards sort of monomaterial textile assemblies that can actually be recycled at the end of the life? Because to me is kind of like there's you call it whatever you like, design for disassembly, design for second life, or whatever. But this is, you're left with this kind of thing, and if it's just going to be landfill, it's useless in the long term, and you've contributed to a problem rather than helped to solve it, if you will. Yeah. Either or, actually, guys. Don't mind where it goes in for that.
So I think what you've got to look at is the whole landscape of what that is doing through its life, right? And particularly at the end, for somebody to be ripping that vehicle apart into its component sets that are all monomaterials is quite labour intensive. It's much more labour intensive than them putting the big claw on it and chucking it into a big squasher, the big crusher, and chucking it out as a Simpsons style big pallet of metal. So there has to be a benefit to them, and the benefit will come from that material being worth something, right? It will only be worth something if we start to utilise recycled materials within vehicles and other products. So there is a wanted need for it, right? So you've got to just absolutely create that circle. If you don't create that circle, then it's just never ever going to happen. The monomaterial thing is really important. There's much more happening with that right now, but again, we have to utilize it to get it to grow.
Right. Right.
So some it's easier than others, isn't it?
Sure.
Plastics has this sort of, if it's non-coated, you can then go down that route. So we're sort of quite far advanced with a company about carpets, about how that then goes and goes into big tumble dryers and sort of it starts to break down, and that's huge. That's things like that are massive, because it's a big story.
Yeah. I mean, with the car carpet, do we continue with them? Are they? I mean, it's actually one of the questions. I didn't shortlist it, but I've got carpets in my Volvo. I can spec a rubber kind of hardware and industrial rubber.
It depends on your car again, doesn't it? Depends on what it is. I think every car has a character. And is it an off-road? Is it more premium? I think we're sort of producing SUVs that are capable of both. That you've got that sort of, you can go a little bit more off-road, and then all of a sudden you can go to the ballet, whatever it is. It's got the same presence, sort of, you give it a clean, and there you go. I think materials need to follow that same spec. They need to be robust enough to live both lives. I think.
Actually, sticking with you, Dave, because I've got a question here about localization, or hyperlocality, I guess, and it's about material sourcing, regional agricultural byproducts, and I guess it would apply to Geely as well, because making cars in China. But how much is this a niche idea, or is this something that could grow as an idea? The idea of kind of being really hyper local about.
I love the sort of, say, 4 years into this sort of Indian brand of Mahindra and understanding localization is a huge push, and that to me is amazing, because it's about what can we do, what can we source locally, what can then sort of create the jobs locally, create the sort of industry that builds these cars within that sort of Indian marketplace. We embrace it and we push it. It's from the top down as well. That's where we are. We talk to many suppliers. A lot of them are based in there, and if not, we're looking at, can we get them to be sort of producing within that Indian marketplace. And we support it as a design team. So we, especially from a CMF, because we are the team that sort of has those supplier negotiations and discussions, and we have to push and partner with them. And it's an important part of what we do in Mahindra.
Stephen, similar, because you are both dealing with countries at huge scale. The potential for agricultural byproducts in both is astonishing, I imagine. But how application's going to work, and how do you make that a commercially viable thing? Like, it must be.
I think that's quite difficult subject, really, because again, there's got to be a want and need for it. And is it doing anything better than what we've got already is also another thing, right? So again, we spoke earlier, all the attributes to the materials we use have to hit a certain criteria. If we don't hit that, the product's no good. We're not churning out decent product. So it's got to hit all of these criteria. I think within China, what we're actually seeing is a lot of, especially with us, it's great from a CMF point of view, because there's lots of suppliers that we know here in Europe and within the US as well. But actually over in China, there's a completely new landscape of suppliers we've never even spoken to before. So it's actually really exciting for me and my team, and to have the CMF engineering team over in China to help navigate that is really exciting.
Do you guys get over there a lot to your respective kind of home bases, as it were, like the headquarters?
Yeah, I'll be there on the 10th of March.
Right. Okay. And you, David,
as often as possible.
Yeah.
So again, over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, we've been going through a lot of production stuff. So we're lucky we've got a Mumbai design studio, which is an incredible space to be around. Then we've obviously production facilities. So yeah, we're there a lot, and it's again that talking of suppliers, the enthusiasm we have from them, let alone within the teams that we've got, big engineering teams and design teams. From a Mahindra as an Indian-led company, the passion is phenomenal and inspiring.
Yeah.
Encourages us.
And they love you being there, right? So, you know, the guys over in China love it when we're there to
bounce ideas,
and also just to strategize what we're doing in the future. You know, it's a fast-paced environment we work in, but they just want that narrow, like the communication. Again, we come back to that partnership, but again with suppliers, they like being there, right? They want to show you what they've developed and what's new.
I can be in production facilities, and it's amazing because you just have like a queue of people waiting to just
it's talk. Like a minor celebrity, David.
Sometimes it's just to sort of say hello, but sometimes it's I've got this. Can we have a look at it?
Yeah.
Have you got some time? And that's it's quite humbling in a way. To sort of
keep
be
you
there
fresh as well. Keep you kind of keep the motivation there. I guess another question as well, and it's something that I've wondered about, and you probably will come at it from slightly different angles, but this idea of how a material ages and the patina and the kind of and the emotional value that goes with that. Now, from your point of view, Stephen, you're working with cars that people are in and out. They're not necessarily owners of them, but
no, exactly.
How do you tackle that perception? I get in one of my. I haven't got a fleet of cars, but I do have one of mine. But I see the old battered leather, and I absolutely love it. But imagine, you know, in a kind of sort of transport, like, would that go down so well if you got into a LEVC sort of TX the taxi, or is that something to be avoided? Do you need that pristine look, and does that preclude certain materials?
So I think TX previously has been seen as a bit more of an industrial design project. And actually, we've got a really good team at GC3. We've got guys from Aston Martin, Bentley, you name it. We've got the guys there. So it's quite interesting to try and grab that really sort of the expertise from the industry and see how you can apply that to a more transport-led, you know, multi-user vehicle. And we're definitely seeing that flourish right now. And, you know, the stuff that we're working on is incredibly different than what we're seeing today from TX. So I think that has to happen because even though we have multiple users, they've all matured in what they need from the product, right, and what they expect from the product. Right. If they're getting in and out of an automotive product, the difference between that and today and 10 years ago is so different, especially from a CMF point of view, that if you actually get into TX today, you probably think it's quite plasticky, right? Yeah. And the plastic is like an easy option. And sometimes we don't need to take the easy option. And actually, with the backing of Geely and China, it's actually, we can start to look at different manufacturing techniques and still have that wear and tear sort of attributes that work with the life of this multi-user vehicle.
Right.
And that's really important because then we're pushing the brand, and that needs to happen. But we're also pushing the experience for the customer, and that has to happen also.
David?
We touched next door, didn't we? We talked about E-types and that sort of.
Yes, we did.
Aniline leather.
Yeah.
Then, do you know what I mean? You sit in it, and over 10 years, you sort of that seat.
It's like one of those mattresses.
Cars are very different these days. They have to sort of. Do people own the cars now? Obviously, when you hand it back, so the materials have to be a little bit more robust and this and the other. So, yeah, I think for your purpose, your plastics, they're more robust. They're wipeable. Your leatherettes, whatever you're going to use now, has to be fit for purpose, and not just for you, but potentially that next owner. So we do have to think about it slightly different.
I think one of the really cool changes that I've seen within transport devices actually is within first class aircraft design, right? Over the past few years, we started to see everybody was doing, levers, etc., in aircraft seats, but we're starting to see a resurgence of textiles come back into that, right?
Seems mad on an
Which
aircraft.
seems
though, doesn't it?
mad,
Yeah.
but the quality of textiles now are so good. They're bleachable and all sorts. So you can actually really create a warm environment and really take, exactly like Dave said earlier, like something from the home and bring it into that transport device so they feel like they're almost cosseted.
That's a really interesting point, because the uniformity and preciseness needed in an aircraft interior is beyond any expectation. You don't want patina in it's going to make you think the plane is old, and you don't want to get,
Also, especially after COVID, right? Everybody turned into a clean freak, right? You can't have any dirt anywhere. So
it's got to be spotless.
Yeah, is it patina or is it dirt? Who knows? And who knows? You end up someone there cleaning and ruining your deco finisher.
We push textiles a lot within Mahindra where we are now. Obviously, with the EV side of things as well. So there's a lightweight. There's another avenue to that reason there, but they are there. You can get easily 75% plastic bottle manufacturer,
easy peasy.
but it is robust. It passes the test. So you can put it places, and it will age respectfully with a car. And we've got to try and change that the sort of feeling of it. It is more.
It's
get that perceived quality.
Yes,
it is the perception of it, and I think
quality. That's where it lies.
I think we're working on that, and I think it's something that will happen. I think there's a lot of cars doing it now. So.
You are an opportunity to sort of reset customers' expectations with a new wave coming through. I'm just going to say, we've got another clip from Maria, who's going to talk a little bit about autonomous vehicles. We are coming up on time, but we'll keep going because I think it's interesting. But can we roll clip 2 of Maria, our sort of virtual special guest?
Think about autonomous driving. I believe the biggest change in terms of CMF is the customer perception of the space. First of all, still the question of safety. Not everyone is confident yet, so there's a wish for creating an environment where people will feel safe and comfortable. As in most of the cars, we have only one driver, one person focused on driving. If we talk about autonomous car, that changes completely. So what are you doing then? How can we offer this customer something more? Because if he or she is not really focused on driving, they will be doing something else. And how does this environment change around this person? So it becomes much more as a home, as cheesy as it can be, but customization, I believe, becomes more important as well, as you then can have a bigger variety of things you will be doing during the trip. We have been talking here at Kia a lot about what we call emotional quality, how soft the surfaces are, the quality of the materials. If you are not looking to the road, you might be looking to the door, you might be looking to the seat details, and you demand much more. So I want my door to be soft. There's one thing we have been aiming to do with the sustainable materials. We decided to search for a nice leather replacement. And our first goal in the past was to find something that was really to the same level of durability, of quality, touch and feel as so many customers love leather. Now we are looking to one step further that connects to your question. How can we do better than leather? What kind of leather replacement can be even softer, can feel even nicer, being more sustainable? Basically, I believe it makes the demands higher, but on the other hand also offers us the attention we need to do nice CMF on the cars, to give a nice range of colors, nice range of finishes for people to enjoy it during the ride.
Okay, that was Marilia. That was talking about autonomous, the opportunities, challenges. It sounds like actually a bit of a nightmare for perceived quality team. If no one's looking at the road anymore, they're looking at the detailing. But no, I guess it must be something that you guys are looking at. Stephen, I'm going to start with you because it makes sense.
I mean, yeah.
You'd expect that at some point to remove the driver from the taxi, maybe.
Yeah,
Certainly, certain people's dreams.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're seeing in China, especially, there's legislation over there to make sure that that thing can happen. We're already seeing quite a lot of different vehicles coming out from China, and actually being taken over to US, like the Waymos. That's a Zeekr.
100% a Zeekr. Yeah.
A Zeekr.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a route forward for doing autonomous. Whether it's right for everywhere, I'm not 100%. I mean, you walk through London. Is it really right for London when you've got so many people walking across in front of you?
I pity the algorithm, almost the autonomous intelligence.
We are at that stage right now where I don't think it's really happening right here, right now. But I think for a global perspective, yeah, it's in the forefront for sure. The technology is moving. We're across that plateau. We've been level 2 to 3 for quite a while. Mm-hmm. We're about to see a big fall, I think.
And more pressure, I suppose, on materials, or more opportunity, more pressure, more expectation. David,
that's the exciting part, though, isn't it? I think really, we have a level of autonomy with our driving there anyway, don't we? But so all of these things are moving in the right direction. But yeah, we go back to what we talked about being market relevant.
Yes.
So
yes.
There's certain materials that we can deliver within the domestic Indian marketplace that when you come globally, we need to look at. So we're looking at amazing PUs where you sort of get the feel of it, and it's sort of almost for people to touch it and have a go, oh, what is this? Is it leather? And that is something that is going to sort of push forward. And that's the same with grains in a vehicle sort of thing. I think as a CMF team, you go into a lot of detail and design to create a grain for people to get in a car and ignore. But that's the part. I think if someone gets in a car and the first thing you do is start scratching it, that's a bad thing. So people go and just accept it. That's good. So that's the same with all materials now. I think there's a Marilia said softness and that sort of that aspect of, oh, what is this? It feels nice. And there's almost a pride in your purchase of what you're doing.
It's interesting, isn't it? Working that hard at something to hopefully it being it's like being a film set design. If someone notices a set, it's probably wonky. So you want that completely believable element to your material.
I always say to the team as well, it's we talked about the longevity of the discipline through it. We don't just look at the A surface. We have to control the B surface. So there's as much time goes into the inside of a glove box or the inside of a door pocket than it does on an IP, which is prime real estate. So that has to happen, and that all of those are material specs. Gloss level finishes, grains, leatherettes, PU, whatever it is, that attention to detail has to go in there. And the devil in the detail again, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Marilla said quite right. What she said was quite right. The autonomous vehicles do kind of change how the consumer is using the vehicle. Back in the day, it used to be we all had this kind of hygiene level just below the sort of door armrest, and everything below that.
Forget about it.
Was 45 pence, and then everything above it you could spend a bit of money on, and you had that kind of threshold. Now everybody's touching everything, and it also means that we have to have additional treatments to those places as well. We play a lot with seats, and there's lots of treatments that you can do with seats, but we're starting to see that now moving. It's moving to the rest of cabin to actually be a focal point, and actually be that surprise and delight that you do see. It used to be that you pop it on the seat so you see through the window, you want to buy the car, happy days, there we go. You never actually saw it, you were sat on the seat.
Right.
But now we're starting to see this around the vehicle as well. So again, there is more CMF content within vehicle, but Dave's very right. We're in charge of every single aspect.
They all want
to
talk to you now, guys. And this is what you asked for. I have to say, whether that's a good thing or not. One thing, actually talking about grains and whether people touch things or not, it does ram home how important it is for you to display or understand materials in the flesh, as it were, in the grain, in the wood and leather. This idea of attaching something, if it's a material innovation, could be great, but if it doesn't feel good, then it's not going to fly. And it leads me seamlessly into the roles of things like design shows and things like that. Do you guys go to the Salone in Milan, or do you plan to go? Is this on your radar? Are there sort of trade shows that really are worth going to?
Shows to me are invaluable. I think We need to go to as many as we can. We're a busy studio, so we don't go to as many as we should, but we should go. I went to Milan last year with our interior design chief Phil, and honestly, it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I hadn't been for a number of years, so to go there and just see the growth of it was amazing. Almost,
It's almost
get to
too
see
much.
it was too much, because obviously you go there and you plan so many different things that I didn't get to see. Some exhibits 2.5 hours to wait to get to see.
A victim of its
I
own
didn't have
success.
that luxury of time. So
Yes.
you sort of
it's a
calling
thing,
people to say,
isn't it?
can I come and get into there quickly? Sort of thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Milan is a great show, but Steve, we talked briefly earlier. There's so many other little shows, the London shows and all the
K show,
perfect.
So good. I mean, what I actually sent. I'm only a very, very small team here in the UK. There's the 3 of us, including me, you know. But I sent both my guys last year, and it was important to send them without me being there.
Yeah, let them discover stuff, right?
But sometimes we as the sort of heads of department can tramline things, and you don't want to be doing that
You
at
don't
all.
want to, you know, it's like the hovering art director,
exactly.
Clam up, you know.
And you know, I employ them as experts, and they're experts in what their thinking is, but they come from completely different backgrounds, and that's really good. We get the most out of them. But it's also important that we're utilising the shows in a way that we can take something from it. It has to be abstracted. You know, Dave said earlier with the trend analysis stuff, you've got to abstract the stuff from it. So it's important, especially with Salone, that you go to the places that you think you might get the most out of, and usually that's not where you think it's going to be. Right.
So that's Stephen. That's your team. You're free to book your plane tickets. Endorsed live on a CDN live stream. Maybe first class. I don't know. I wonder what the budgets are like at LEC, but I'm sure
they can walk.
We did an amazing thing. I'm trying to think, just over maybe 12 months, 2 years ago, where, because obviously we got 2 design teams, UK and Mumbai, and we as a CMF teams, and the UK team went down to London. And we sort of had a team day out. We visited all these places, all these shops, and then the Mumbai team went out in Mumbai, and then we all collated our little idea of what we find design trends. We talked about trends earlier. So what are people seeing? What are we getting? The Mumbai team, and we came together and we presented each other's themes, and it's amazing to see again culturally the difference.
I was going to say, what a great cross-cultural exchange.
The ones that overlap a little bit.
Yes,
and it's just
then you're in that sweet spot,
exactly,
aren't you?
Exactly. That's a nice thing to do, and that wasn't a show.
Yeah,
that was just getting on a tube.
That's field work. That's field work. That's proper research. That's fantastic, guys. I think we are actually up on time. I could chat to you all day. It was really, really fascinating. And I sound sarcastic. I actually mean. But I'm just going to thank you both so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully we'll chat more in the future. May even see you in Milan. But for now, thanks very much. I'm going to now move on to my plugging element of the show. We have got. Well, I have to put my glasses on to read those, but I can tell you they are Car Design Dialogues. Milan, Beijing, and Detroit are all coming up. Please feel free to register there. I feel like I'm going to be at all of those in some way or another. Next up, please, producer. Okay, People Awards. I saw you both at some point this year, briefly. It's always a bit of a whirl, but if you've got, great projects you want to submit, great teams you want to submit, sounds like David and Stephen have got great teams. Yes, please get them submitted. What's next? Car Design Review, our tome of Car Design, the Car Design Bible. Marketing team have called it there. I'm not going to argue with them on that. And also, please subscribe to Car Design News. We cover all this stuff. It's not free to read, sadly. Well, not sadly for my salary. But yes, please register and subscribe to Car Design News. And I believe, oh gosh, there's more live streams. If you enjoyed this one, I hope you have. There are a few more. Lighting, truck interior of the future. Need to think of a snappy title for that one, but it will be interesting. Year in Design, and they will all be coming up over 2026. And that's it. Hopefully we'll see you on the next one, but thank you very much for those of you who stuck with us, or those of you that didn't and stuck with us for a little bit, but it was great to have you on board and great to have our guests once again. So we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.